Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Infamously Speaking. Kwan's already laughing. I promise I'm going to get this intro right. We have a very special guest here. We have Chris from the Growth and Development Podcast here to talk about sports, but in a much different way than what we're used to. We're going to be talking about how sports teach us life lessons and how we carry that throughout life and all the different roles that we have, whether it's from father to husband to worker, co-worker, peer, mentor, and super excited to jump into that. But before we do, a couple of the show keeping notes. First and foremost, make sure that you subscribe to the Infamously Speaking podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Please make sure to comment, rate, subscribe, share the show with a friend, family member. Second, Infamously Speaking merch is live. You see me wearing the black Infamously Speaking shirt with the white embroidery. We got some fire stuff on there. Summertime's coming up, so get your t-shirts, or if it's cold where you live, got sweaters as well. And lastly, most importantly, make sure you go check out the Growth and Development Podcast. Links can be in the bio. That's the show our friend here, Chris, hosts, and nothing but gems and takes dropped on that show.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Chris, with that being said, I want to give you the time to open up the show, talk about what you do, and we'll get it rolling from there.
Sounds good. I appreciate you guys first and foremost for having me on your show. It's a blessing to be able to build with one another and to have these type of edifying conversations. That's pretty much what we do on Growth and Development. Is we fact check a lot of stuff because there's a lot of opinions that get that go viral, right? There's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of memes, and now in today's day and age, there's a lot of AI. So now you could take your thoughts and give the imagery, and someone will take that as a fact. So we like to do our own personal research, and we also like to encourage one another to do their research and fact check us. And if there's things that we get wrong, then we would love to be corrected or to have, as long as it's done respectfully, as long as it's done in a respectful manner. And it's big because some people don't like to be corrected, and whether I'm a guest on someone's show or whether somebody's a guest on my show, I want to be able to have an open dialogue. And if there's closed mindedness, then we can't grow and develop. We can't get to that next level in life, or that next level in our mentality. So some of the topics that we've covered so far on growth and development have been identity crisis. That goes for male, female, so that's gender, or whether it's your nationality, race. We've talked about parenting, and that's from a fatherhood standpoint. My wife is going to be actually joining as my co-host on growth and development,
That's
and she'll be
fire.
speaking.
That
Yeah,
is
so
fire.
it'll be a family thing, it's a family podcast and adventure together. As we're gonna be kind of journaling our journey throughout life. So we've talked about a number of different things, motivation, self motivation, uh, and whether you get it from an external standpoint or whether you get it from internal, so that's kind of the topics that we touch upon on growth and development.
Yo, Chris, man, I gotta give you your flowers. Um, Even though some may consider it early, but the title within itself, just growth and development, right? We talk about that all the time. Where if you're not growing, then you're complacent, or you just standing still, right? And for those who are continuing to build those tools to develop into being just a better person, is what we always strive for. Like we started this pod with the sports, right? And we'll talk more about it and how sports is so relatable to life. That's what we're going to cover today. But realistically, our goal is to at least affect one person in a positive way with at least one show. So for you to do that, and I've watched your shows and you're dropping gems, it's like that's a beautiful thing, man. It's a blessing that we have people like you out there willing to put yourself out there and have those kind of conversations, right? And same with Matt and I, like we don't mind open dialogue. We can have differences, As long as we respect each other and have that kind of conversation, it's like we said, right? There's no losses, there's only lessons. So I could take a lesson from what you might bring to the table that I might not interpret, or I might have that perception. So that's what we're all about, man. I'm happy to have you on here for real. And this isn't gonna be the only time. It's the first of many for sure.
I appreciate that. And something that you said that really stuck out to me right now is the title. And the title came to me, I would say, in 2018, 2019, where I was, to be honest, since we're gonna be honest, right? So I
Yeah,
was incarcerated at the time, and during my time while I was incarcerated, I started to get involved in um a reintegration program and helping people get reintegrated into society and helping them gain the skill set to become acclimate into society and not recidivize. So,
mm,
with that being said, I wanted to facilitate a group within the compound that I was in, and I wanted the group to be called Growth and Development.
oh, that's
So
tough.
yeah, so that's really where the whole pod came from. I didn't have a podcast in mind. I had a group in mind where it was like I have been spending my time while I was away, reading a lot and taking college classes and taking Bible college classes while taking philosophy classes, business education classes. I was
That's
going
fire.
above and beyond because when I look back at my time that I spent, I didn't want it to be time wasted. I wanted to
Mm,
look back and be like, I did something. I couldn't spend years of my life just playing cards, just playing
yeah,
dominoes. I couldn't spend years of my life just working out, even though working out is great, you know.
yeah,
You got to work out this as well.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
um so that's where the name came from. And then as I came back into society and podcast was a thing, um years ago when I was younger, I used to do music. So a lot of people actually they know me as Supreme Legacy, and that was the name and that was the brand for a while. And we had a lot of success um, on an underground circuit when it came to rapping. But I always had it in my mind that I didn't want to be a 30-plus-year-old rapper trying to make
Yeah,
it. If
yeah,
I wasn't on the verge, like if there wasn't a break that was
yeah,
about to happen, like I know
yeah,
around the corner is lit,
yeah,
then
yeah.
I gotta give it up, you know? So
I feel
um
you.
so while chasing that dream, I had many other things that I was into. Man, I started out my work life. I started out in retail. So
Hmm.
if you recall, and I guess I could say the name because they're not in business anymore. But if you recall, uh, do you know what Brookstone is or was?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
They had the helicopters and the
yeah,
and
Yeah.
yeah,
the
yeah. The massage
massage
chairs.
chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I'll take my little
So
15-minute break and a massage over there.
so I was the assistant manager at the Brookstone and Mohegan Sun Casino. So I had basically became an adult in that environment in the casino life. So I started there at 16 years old, and I went until I was 20, almost 21 years old, and then I went to Robert Graham, which is still in the casino. I was a part of the management team that put that store there. Every shelf, every picture that you see that's in that boutique
You played a
type of
part in that.
store. Yes, yes,
Got you.
absolutely. So that was before the incarceration, and then life took a turn, and so on and so forth. But
Yeah.
there's so many different directions and so many different pages and chapters, and a big book with small print.
Got you. I feel you. And we'll get into that. I think we'll, as time goes on, because I know, I'm a little familiar with your story, and I think that you have a testimony that relates with so many people, especially people we know or people that where we're from, right? So when you can make an impact, especially a positive one, and turning your situation into something so great, with what you're doing, we're definitely going to be getting into that. And I'm sure that you're talking about it on your show. So make sure again you guys tune in to the Growth and Development Pod, and subscribe over there. Yeah, let's jump into it. Let's talk about it, right? I know we had a subject in mind. I'm excited to talk about this as a big sports guy growing up.
Yeah, for sure. Let's jump right into it. So, as we were preparing for the show, I know Chris, you sent over us an awesome topic that I think is really going to resonate with everybody listening, and definitely resonates with everybody, obviously, on this set, which is sports teach such foundational lessons that I think that's why so many parents want their kids to be involved in a sport, because they were and they saw the value that it brought. It's not necessarily hoop dreams. There's a certain structure that it provides. And so I really want to kick off the show talking about what sports teach us in adolescence. And we can start with you, Chris. Is there anything that you remember learning from sports that you've carried with you throughout your life and still carry with you to this day?
There's three big things that come to mind, um, that I definitely apply to my everyday life, which is first primarily um being a team player. Like that is huge, and I don't think that people understand that lesson, that life lesson that sports provides. Um, I've worked with some people that haven't played sports, or they played a sport like wrestling, which you don't play wrestling, but they were involved in a sport like
Mm-hmm.
wrestling where you don't have the team mentality. Boxing, you can develop the team mentality you are um if you're receptive to your coach and to your trainer and to the people that's at the gym doing the groundwork with you. But as an individual, you got to step in that ring by yourself. When you're a wrestler, you got to get on that mat by yourself. So they don't have that team mentality, and then you see that in their work ethic. You see that
Mm.
when they don't consider their coworker, when everything is me, and it's not team. So that's
Yeah,
one of the big things that I carry with me is being a team player.
Yeah, that's
absolutely love
fire.
that. Absolutely love that. What
See,
about you?
Matt, you can learn something. It's never too late. Gotta be a team player sometime, man.
Can't teach an old dog new tricks, they say. What
Yeah.
about you? What about you, Quan? Anything specifically to stand out to you as something that
Yeah.
you learned through sports?
I mean, there's a lot. The two things that probably stand out most is leadership and communication.
Okay.
Mm,
Um, you know, I remember being on teams and just honestly, naturally, I become the leader of that team because through communication, but also the way I played. Teaches work ethic because if I wanted to be the best, I had to put in that work. So that came along with it. But really, a lot of communication, right? Because I play like baseball, so if there's a pop fly, you gotta make sure you call it out. Usually, I'm center field, or starter center field and shortstop. But anyways, definitely gotta have
That's
communication.
okay.
what I was gonna
Yeah,
ask too.
Humble
What
brag.
sports did you play?
Humble
yeah,
brag.
nah.
Listen to this guy. Humble
I'll,
brag.
I'll give you a resume real quick, man. Nah.
We don't want it.
Um,
I was a
baseball.
third baseman.
Okay. Okay.
Hot corner,
Matt, where's you at?
right?
Um,
Right
oh,
field?
you play baseball too?
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, I was shortstop and pitcher really. My rookie when I
Come
was,
on, pitch. He ain't throw.
center
He ain't
field.
throwing heat. He ain't
Come
throwing
on,
heat.
man.
Cut it
Y'all
out. He
don't
ain't
know
throwing
because
I
heat.
ain't gonna hold you,
y'all
Quan.
younger.
You named every position.
Yeah. They used to call
Come
me
on.
Nomo, man. I can't help that.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I do, right, Scooby? Um, But yeah, the communication was big, man. I think that helped me along the way, even in the work environment. Right, we talked about like when you work with someone who's not a teammate, it's tough. But it'll help me have kind of those conversations with people like that who don't know how to be a teammate, or who could be a challenge, for whatever reason at work. But being able to have that conversation, um, has definitely helped in the field with sports. And the leadership thing that you kind of take that on your own, right? You carry the weight of your shoulder, carry the weight of the team on your shoulders. You want to do good, so you got to lead by example. Man, there's so many things that sports. If I didn't have sports, I don't know where I would be in life, to be completely honest. Because sports played a huge role in my upbringing. I didn't have no siblings. My mom, I was raised by my mom, but my mom was never around. It was just me. So if it didn't have sports, to be honest, I'd be lost. But sports kept me occupied, and I'm not trying to brag, but like I was pretty good
Okay.
when I was young. That
Here,
shit,
here it
I
comes.
was competitive. I felt that competitiveness.
Hey,
No,
stand
no,
on
I'm
it.
just saying.
No, you good. No, I love everything you both said, and I'd agree with that. And I think one thing that I'd add is what sports taught me was it built the foundation of how to handle feedback.
Okay,
Because
that's
if you
major.
and I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with because you automatically want to get defensive, especially if you feel like you're doing something right. But I think the reason why sports is so awesome is because it provides both instant and delayed gratification. So in the moment, you might mess up one play and then you get another opportunity right away if it's within the game typically to go and rectify it or take that in the moment coaching and then fix it. Um,
Yeah,
and then, of course, the delayed gratification is just your goal over the course of a season, winning the game, winning the championship, winning whatever. But definitely handling feedback is something that I learned because it just doesn't stop when you're youth. You need feedback to grow, and
yeah,
I felt that I found it way easier to learn that when I was playing sports because I knew going in that I wasn't going to do everything perfect. I was going to make mistakes. Um, and so when you see, especially when you got teammates that are doing great things, like Quan said, you want to be the leader or you want to help, you want to elevate your play to be at the same place as that leader is. And the only way to do that is by taking feedback. Whether it's the way that you're lining up, the way that you're standing in the batter's box if you're playing baseball, the way that your stance if you're playing football, not getting off the ground if you're playing basketball on defense, right? Staying on the ground. So yeah, feedback is a big piece.
man. As you say that, like I start smiling because what it really makes me think of is the ability to handle a loss. Like
Mm,
that right there
Mm.
is that's a gem in itself because
Nah.
there's so many people today, grown adults, that they they fail in any capacity and the world is over. They don't know how to create another avenue. They don't know how to handle
Mhm.
that loss and continue to go forward. Where in sports, you might have lost this last game, but you got another game ahead of you. You got another game tomorrow, or you might have a double header. You might have another game that very night. So it's like
Mhm.
if you're lingering on those emotions that you felt from earlier, you're gonna fail later. You're not gonna perform at your best ability later. But if you're able to put that behind you and push forward, man, that even though you might not go to the MLB, even though you might not go to the NFL, the NBA, and go professional, when you go into your adult years in life, you take those skill sets, you take those tools. It's
Mhm.
just another tool in the toolbox.
No, that's a
absolutely.
fact. That's a fact. That's a great perspective from both of you. I was actually surprised with that one, Matt, with the feedback one. That was
Oh,
good,
why?
man.
Why you say
I don't
that
know.
acting like I give you a hard time
Maybe
whenever you give
because
me
I didn't
feedback?
think. Maybe because I didn't think about it. I'm just hating a little bit. But
Could
nah,
be.
you know what's funny? So here's the crazy shit, right? And I'll be honest, and this is a lesson that I learned, but I wish I had more guidance. And Matt's a little familiar with this story, but basically, when I was in the 9th through 12th baseball league, right? I was nasty. I'm not bullshit. I was nasty. I had 14 strikeouts when
Mm.
I was 12 in the All Star game. Now there's 18 outs in the game, so that's a lot, right? So I was
And not
picked
to cut you off,
first.
Quan, just
No,
so
you
that
good.
you know, there might be a viewer out there. One of
Let
y'all
him
know
fact
you
check
was
me.
one of the
Fact
people
check
that
me.
that struck out.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You was one of the people
Yeah.
that got struck out. But go ahead, Quan. My fault. I just had to
Nah,
throw
nah,
that
you
out there.
good. You good. I love that. I
There's
love that
receipts. There's
energy.
receipts.
Yeah. Um. So when I got picked first going into Babe Ruth, right? And you know, as I got onto Babe Ruth, the coach was like, "Quan, go pick up their gloves, go pick up their bats," and I was like, "So fuck, what you talk about? Number
I'm
one
the
pick?
guy.
I'm that guy. Like, what are you talking
I'm
about?"
him.
And I ended up walking off the field, bro, and I left. I
Mm.
never went back. And to be real with you, baseball was my best. Like the best in baseball. Like
And you
I
never
was
went
good
back.
at
That was
never
your
went.
breaking
So
point.
that was my yeah. So
Sheesh.
I felt some type of way, like but I didn't understand. Like that was part of the process. Like even to the NBA, the major leagues, the rookies always get that little haze, right? But
Yep.
I didn't know that, and I wasn't used to that. I needed guidance where someone was like, "Quan, nah, that's them being a little tough on you, and you got to pay your dues going to, and then you do that to the following." If I had that guidance or that advice, then I would have stuck with it. What made it worse was like, you know what? I'm gonna go back for high school ball, and the coach happened to be the same coach, and I was like,
No.
nah, I fucked it up. I fucked it up for myself. Yeah, so I just played basketball, which I was pretty good at, but not as good as baseball. So that's
And
when
do you
my
think that the
career
coach
ended.
remembered you?
Hell yeah, because I was really him. Like I was
Yeah,
him, but
yeah.
I just needed to be taught some lessons. You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
And that goes back to the emotional part, man. You know,
Yeah.
I
Mm.
think I might have mentioned this on one of my episodes. I'm not 100% sure. But one of my favorite books, one of my favorite quotes is from this book. I believe that the book is called "Sometimes You Win," and instead of it saying "Sometimes you lose," it has "lose" crossed out, and it says "Sometimes you learn." So sometimes you win,
Mm.
sometimes you learn. And the quote from the book says, "The difference between successful people and non-successful people is how they manage their failures." And something I've and correct me if I'm wrong because I could be getting this wrong, but one thing that I've seen with like the black and brown community, like our community, is that we get real we're very passionate people, you know. We get really into what we're into, and we're very emotional people. We speak with our hands. We're very theatrical, and with that being said, there are some people that are more stoic. Are you guys familiar with stoicism?
yeah, for sure. I'll give people an example of someone, a sports figure who's pretty stoic. If you watch baseball, you know what it is. Keep it the theme of baseball. Aaron Judge is a very stoic sports figure. You don't see a lot of emotion on his face, even though he hits 60 home runs a year. He just keeps a
Is
very
in the NFL,
composed.
Bill
Yeah.
Belichick is
Yes,
another one
there you
who's
go.
very no
Very
matter
just,
how many wins, you don't see no
just
different.
yep.
Yeah, even killed. Um, so what I think, like sometimes people's downfall, and I don't want to say it was your downfall, but what kind of crippled you from seeing your true potential in that moment with baseball is you got emotional. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
what, like go pick up
Yeah.
what, man, go send him to go pick up whatever. Like he don't
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
get crazy. Like I get crazy. Like
Mm-hmm.
and it's like now we never know, you know, what it could have been. And
Fact.
my brother has a similar story to that. And I don't know if he'll be upset about me sharing this, but he'd be alright. So so he was in AAU, and there's a guy that I looked at him as a mentor. You know, he helped me in my days of basketball. I had actually met him at the YMCA. We had a YMCA in our neighborhood. It actually got closed down, but that's a different story. So the YMCA days, I had met him and he had taught me how to do a crossover. He took a fold up metal chair, and he placed it on the
Mm-hmm.
basketball court, and he told me to send the basketball underneath the part where you sit, so it gets low enough underneath the defender's hands and where he has to scoop down and so on and so forth. So he taught me how to do a crossover. Fast forward, this was the coach to my brother's AAU team, and my brother, he didn't know how to receive um feedback. He didn't know how to receive being scolded or yelled at or things of that nature. And they were in practice, and mind you, it's not cheap to play AAU. Like
Yeah, nah, it's
it
not.
costs some money. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
get to play AAU because my mother didn't. She couldn't afford it. So when it came time for him to play AAU, I went half. I was of age where I was making money, so I went half with my mother to pay for him to go AAU, and then me and one of my older cousins, we went half on his sneakers so that he had sneakers to play ball in.
That's what's up.
Man, he was in the middle of practice. Coach yelled at him. He walked out. Never went back.
Damn. Yeah,
Never
man.
went back.
Yeah. It be us.
All
It
that
be.
money.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. And you know, I don't take it no type of way because I think you're absolutely right. I let the emotions get the best of me. Sometimes, right, we block our own blessings, unfortunately.
Right.
But like you said, it to me at this point, it's not a loss; it's a lesson because I learned from that. Like I wouldn't let that jeopardize any opportunities going forward. Now, I just, you know, I try to. I would want to understand. Okay, why am I, you know, why am I the one you're choosing to do this? Like, let me help me understand, and then, you know, we take it from there. Um, but yeah, you know, there's so many good things that came up. Like, you know, it promotes health, right? How many
Yeah.
Of
kids is
course.
inside how many kids are inside now playing video games? You
Yep.
know, obesity on fat is probably one of the worst things in
Rampant.
America right now.
Rampant.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. That's one of our biggest enemies here in the United States is obesity. Um,
yeah,
another the other two things that came to mind when it came to sports is one of them being discipline.
mm,
And like, man, you gotta think about it, like how many of our peers, when we were going to practice and they were at home playing video games, or they were at home um eating, snacking, they were at home um getting into trouble in the neighborhood, having
nah,
sex and so on and so forth, smoking,
facts.
drinking, whatever they were getting
Yep.
into, but they weren't getting to practice, you know?
Fact.
Yep.
So sorry about that. So
No, you
with
good.
that being said, uh that translates into adulthood, where it's like the sacrifice that it takes, that you know you got work tomorrow morning, but all of your friends and all your peers, family, whoever, they're going out tonight, and it's like, all right, do I go out tonight, or do I go and get this rest that I need in order to perform well tomorrow
Yep.
at work? So
Yeah.
all of
Hell
those
yeah.
lessons, it, sacrifice, discipline, all of that
Yeah,
plays into your adult life as well. Which
that's
is
a
why
big
Absolutely.
I
one.
don't understand. I'm sorry, guys.
No, you're
Which is
good.
why
You're
I don't
good.
understand why people brush off sports and they call it just a game.
Wow. What a
Yeah.
transition. He's good.
What a transition. This
I think
guy's
he has my notes.
Yeah,
I literally got a. I literally got a segment here that says, "Is it just a game?" Oh my goodness. So I did want to
so
go to it, but so go ahead.
yeah, talk about it. No, go ahead. I want to hear your perspective when people downplay the significance that sports play in somebody's life, in their upbringing.
Yeah, I mean, Quan, I'll let you go first because I kind of want to talk about some of the reasons why people might say that.
I just disagree with him, and for the reasons we talked about. To be real with you, like you could, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
Of
So,
course.
respectively, I'll disagree and I'll tell them why, which is all the reasons we're given, right? Discipline, physical fitness, social skills, communication, leadership. I love the discipline part. I want to talk a little bit about that because that came up to me in my mind when I was in the gym today because I kind of knew what we was talking about, and I'm like, man, it does take a lot of discipline. Even for, I was looking at an older gentleman who was in the gym today. He's probably like in his 70s, maybe 80s, and I was like, yo, I'm good for this guy for whatever he's doing to get his ass in here and commit to whatever he wanted to do, right? Like, it's not always easy and life happens and people got things that they got to get done. But for him to be committed to do that, I was like, that's a blessing. I don't shit on
Absolutely.
nobody for what they're doing no more, man. You know, in the discipline part, I remember going to practice. It was at New London High School. I was probably like 10, 11 years old, and it was raining. It was like pouring out, and there's only me, the coach, and like two other players showed up, and they was gonna cancel practice. And I'm like, nah, we're here. We're here now. Let's just have the
Yeah,
conversation with the people who's not right. But that it reminded me because you said like, you know, well, how many times that we go. Maybe we didn't even want to go, but we pushed ourselves because we knew we wanted to
absolutely.
achieve, and we was committed to it. And yeah, so that resonated well with me. So I just wanted to touch base on that. But yeah, back to the original question about with people who think it's just a game, you're lying to yourself. You're not paying attention to what we're dropping.
Yeah.
We're dropping gems out here. You're not picking them up. There's more than just a game.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm just giving a different point of view for the sake of conversation and argument. I just want to throw that out
Okay,
there. Everybody
Let's
hey,
hear
knows
the
how
same
other
much
here.
I
side.
love
What's
sports.
the other side of the coin?
So I had to do a little bit of research on it because I was like, why would anybody ever say that? Why would anybody limit lessons that you can carry throughout your life to keep? Why put it in a box? And so, I did some digging. One of the things that I saw was sometimes you could tie too much of your identity to something. And then when that thing's not there anymore, you struggle to find who you are in other things. So, for example, just to relate it to everyday people, sometimes you tie yourself so much of your value to what you do for work. And then if something happens at your job where you can't do it anymore, whether it's layoffs, which has been rampant across this country, or you get hurt and you can't do it anymore, you kind of find yourself of like, well, what do I do with myself now? Because that's all you had. Who am I? Right, exactly that. And so
the identity crisis, like
that
my
whole
guy
identity crisis.
gotta go check that episode out, man.
So
Correct.
I found that point interesting of like you could I don't know what the right word is, but tie yourself too much to that instead of saying,
Can we stay right there for a second?
Yeah, go right ahead. Drop a gem.
So with that being said, just from a personal perspective, right? I think we all know when we were like in high school, we all knew those like professional students, like those super jocks, like those guys that like they don't matter if he's late to class, it don't matter what he does, like teachers always got his back, like the teachers love him, the guidance counselor loves him, like the girls love him, everybody loves this person, right? And which, for the record, I was a basketball player and I didn't get along with the football players. Neither here nor there. so, so, um, so with all that being said, like these super students, right? These professional students. This is what I like to call them. It's not. This isn't no actual terminology, but these people that thought that they were gonna go play D1, and then you graduate high school, and then you didn't go D1. You didn't go D2. You maybe went D3 or you didn't go to college at all. All right. So now let's talk about that demographic of people. Now, all the rest of their peers that were in their classrooms are now becoming adults as well. And now we're all settling into life. We're all, whether we're having kids, whether we're getting into our careers, whether we're getting married, whatever it is that we're doing in life. Now, nobody cares that you were whoever you were in high school.
Yep.
The popularity contest is over. Nobody cares how popular you were. So now that a person doesn't know where their balance is, their social status has changed. They're no longer the popular kid. They're no longer the football player because you're not playing football. So or basketball. I'm not gonna just stay on you football players. I'm sorry. So or basketball or baseball, boxing, whatever it is. You're no longer doing that, and you're an adult. So who are you? And what I've seen in my own community, I've seen some people fall, man. I've seen some people, unfortunately, they lean on drugs, they lean on alcohol, because back in high school, you were the party animal. You were the jock. You were one of the guys. You were top cheerleader. Even it doesn't just stick to men, but even with the females, you were a cheerleader. But now you're an adult, and nobody cares that you were head cheerleader. So um people don't know how to find that balance. So I do agree that it is healthy for someone to be told and receive that constructive criticism of it is just a game.
Yeah, so
if it's talked about in that manner.
Yeah, if it's in that manner, I feel you 100%. You know what's this is perfect. The segues is real. So that's also another thing that came up was like sports helps students stay disciplined with their education because you got to keep good grades really to stay on the team. So realistically, I thought about it, I was like, but nah, because I know some people who they got away with shit because they were great athletes. But
Do you think that would happen more when we were back in the day, or you think it's still happening?
Nah, it's still going.
For sure, still happening.
For sure, it's still happening, bro. So like, I think for I was trying to put a finger on it, but the percentage of people that is probably getting more education is higher only because there's not as many super athletes that are getting that special treatment. But it's unfortunate for the select few that are not being told, like you said. It is a game at the end of the day, and if you don't know what can happen, you got to set yourself up for success with other avenues, not just ball, whether it's football or basketball. So that's a great point. From both perspectives. I could see where that was going.
Did you have another one, Matt,
Yeah,
for my people?
I got another one, and I'm not sure how much I agree with it, but it came up in a lot of places, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. And pretty much what it boiled down to was toxic competitiveness and what that could do to your mental health, because there's such an emphasis on if you don't win, you lose, and it kind of ties into the other one where you get so caught up in it where, and we were talking about this on Sunday's episode when we were talking about the Knicks and the fans and all that stuff, where you get so caught up in it where you can't kind of take a step back and be like, man, I did accomplish a lot. Not saying that you lay your head on that because you want to continue to get better, but finding wins even when you don't reach your ultimate goal and using that as fuel. But I'm curious. I see you smiling, so you got something you want to say about it?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm going to say Chris knocked the Knicks on low key when he was like, some grown man can't handle losses.
I was thinking the same thing.
That earlier.
I was thinking the same.
Because I know a lot of Knicks fans they're emotional about that loss to this day.
Matt,
not even on the team.
See, but that's funny. That's another point. I'm gonna get to that. But the thing is about being a New Yorker, it's like we catch so much slack from everything. The Giants, the Giants ain't get nothing in a while. Knicks ain't getting nothing. Yankees got spanked. Like all our teams are just but neither here nor there. The reason why I was smiling though, down bad for real. So but the reason why I started smiling is because I actually experienced that as a parent when it comes to parenting my children with my daughter, because our children, I believe all of our children are in those ages where it's like they could be active in sports. So then us being people that were active in sports, do we implement that? Do we push that? And then you got to find this balance of like, how much do I push that on my child? Like, do I make my child do a sport even though they don't want to? So when my daughter, she gets into a bunch of different things. She's did dance, she's did gymnastics, she's done a little bit of karate, she's done a number of different things, and I have that competitive nature, and and I'm telling my daughter, I'm like, it's either you win or you lose. There is no second place. The second place is the first place loser. And then she's like, Dad, it's not all about winning. And I'm like, yes, it is. So it's like, but it's funny because here she is, she's a child, and even though like I kind of press on with it, subconsciously in my mind, I'm like, should I be teaching her that winning isn't everything? Is she kind of checking me? Is she kind of like reversing the roles a little bit? And I'm kind of the student, which I love it, but there's that balance of this competitive nature versus, I don't know. I don't like the participation award. Let's throw that out
I'm
there.
with you on that. I'm glad you mentioned the participation trophy because I always used to hate that. They used to do that when I played youth football. Like at the end of the season, everybody would get a trophy. I'm like, I don't want this shit, man. But
you have to play for New London. You got a dub.
We beat New London, by the way. We beat New London, by the way. We beat them. Don't worry. But one thing that my mom always used to tell me, and she would equate this to school, but I took this as a lesson in sports as I got older and also in life, which is my mom always used to tell me, she's like, I'm not looking for you to get straight A's. I'm just looking to see if you're actually trying. Did you do your best? If a C is your best work, then that's your best work. Now, continue to try to get better, but I'm not going to get mad if I see you in the living room studying and I know you're working at it, then I'm not going to be mad if you come home with a C because I see you doing the work. Now, if you're just fucking around with your friends, brushing through your homework so you can go outside and play ball, then I'm not gonna be happy with you because I know you didn't put forth your best effort. And so I took that into sports where I was like, I know what my best effort is, right? And if I know if I went and I wasn't lazy and I put forth my best effort, sound like Mike Tyson right there, my best effort. If I went and I put forth my best effort, then I'm not gonna. What am I beating myself up over so much? Yeah, I made mistakes, but I can go and correct those. But I know that I gave my best effort, and that's why I feel. Now I feel like my best effort is gonna get me the dub 99% of the time because I know how hard I work.
Okay,
You know,
there you
that's the
go.
mentality I have. But listen, there's always going to be somebody that works just as hard, if not harder than you. And then you take that as motivation to be like, all right, this person, I'm gonna take that personally. Now I'm gonna go fuck them up. Next time we see
See,
each
but
other, this shit ain't
what you
gonna
just
happen again.
yeah, but you see what you just said? That's like you find the lesson out of being competitive. The competitive
Yeah,
nature is this person is working hard, this person did better than me. I gotta work that much harder
Mm-hmm.
so I can be that much I don't want to say better than because it's not a matter of being better than, but better than who I was, maybe. I don't know.
exactly that. Right there. 1% better each day.
For me, competitive nature is like I know this doesn't have to do with sports, um, just by itself, but as a whole in the nature of being competitive, it's like, man, look at the countries. When we talk about the Olympics, when we talk about
Mm.
representing the country, when we talk about
Yeah.
representing the nation, when we talk about militaries, when we talk about technology, when we talk about um cars, when we talk about anything, fashion, when we talk about whatever it is, see, us living in the United States, we have such a Western culture mentality, and I think sometimes we think the whole world is our country. The world is so much bigger,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and which was another subject that I'm gonna get into in a second is gonna be sports related. But as far as like just on the competitive nature, is like in the school system, whether it's in China and they're teaching math, they're basing their math on the United States math and where they're at, where we're at, and they're basing the fact that okay, they're reading at this level, we got to read at this level, and um, whether it was NASA and it's putting somebody on the moon, and who's gonna do it first? Is it Russia? Is it United States? And
Yeah.
who has the technology to do it? When it comes to weapons, technology falls into weapons. So it's like who has the biggest forces and so on and so forth. So it's like I think if you negate the competitive nature, then you're actually doing a disservice to a people because the reality is when they get out of school, when they get whether it's college on a college level or whether it's high school, when they get out of school and they get into the workforce and they put in their resumes and they put in their applications, there's a
Mm-hmm.
competitive nature there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I think
Dropping gems.
That's
I
a
think that has
fact.
to
It don't stop with this guy.
and
That's a fact.
honestly,
So,
well, I appreciate it. I definitely I'll have to say that my wife has to deal with a lot because my mind is constantly going deeper and deeper and deeper.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's what I think when it comes to the competitive nature. I think that it's healthy.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Everybody who knows me, they know I'm super competitive, man. Everybody who know, like, I don't let my daughter beat me in Monopoly, Sorry, Goldfish, anything.
You
She
can't
knows
though.
that.
You can't let them beat you.
No,
Once they get to a certain age, even that, you can't let them beat you. That's not how the world
no,
works. Ain't nobody
That's
gonna
no.
not how
let you
the
beat
Exactly,
them.
yeah,
exactly. You gotta earn
that's
that.
real life lessons right there.
You gotta earn that. Yo, you know what's crazy? I'm not gonna say this kid's name because he don't deserve it. But I remember being in 8th grade, right?
You know who
The,
you are. Oh, sorry.
yeah, you know who you are. I was in 8th grade and we was going for the team, right? For the and it was like, Quan, you'll be lucky to make the team. And I'm like, all right. I said, all right. And I used that shit as motivation, man, because the competitiveness in me was like, nah, I'm not letting nobody beat me. That whole year, I remember walking to school, um, from Laurel Drive to Benny Dover, just dribbling with my left hand, because my left hand was my weak hand. So I just dribble every day, back and forth. I'm good. Came, tried out, started. Not only did I make the team, I started. And I told him, because,
Nice.
he lived in the neighborhood and shit. I was like, yo, I appreciate you. And he's like, what you mean? I was like, it's your fault that I'm where I'm at. But you helped drive me there, man, for real. So that competitiveness definitely helps. As far as the kids, I thought that was a great topic, right? Matt, your boy's too young yet to kind of like put your print on them. I want to know what your take is on that too, by the way. But like with my daughter, I talked to her about it. Like I tried getting her into basketball. She did like ballet and stuff like that, gymnastics, but um, she eventually tried track. She didn't really find that too fun, but I didn't push it too much because I didn't want her to do something that she wasn't passionate about or didn't really want to commit to. But I did try because I knew what sports could do for her, which is all the things that we've been talking about all the show. But Matt, when it comes time to sign them up, what does that conversation look like?
With them,
Yeah.
well, the first thing is, the first thing I'm gonna say is I want you to do this because you want to do it, not because you feel like I want you to do it, because then you're not gonna have fun doing it. The point of sports is to go out and have fun. At the end of the day, I mean, it's a game, and so when I think about
Now
it,
you're that guy.
no, when I think about it, my parents never were like, "You got to play sports. You got to play sports." It was just I was interested in it, and I was like, "I want to go and try it." And there was things that I didn't like. Like I didn't like soccer. I don't like tennis. I don't like any of that stuff. But I like football. I like baseball, and so I think that was number one. Number two is I'm gonna tell him is I want you to know that if we start this, you're gonna finish it
Yeah.
because I
Commitment. That's
you
a
you
lesson right there. Commitment.
you're gonna
Yeah.
stay with it
Yeah.
because even right now, my oldest son Emmanuel, he's 4, and I got him a bat, a little plastic bat, and we have this little plushy ball, so we could I could throw him the ball, and he could hit it inside safe and not break all my shit. And he'll get frustrated. He'll get frustrated when he misses the ball, and I'm like, that's good, but you got to handle it differently. I told him I was like, you know why you getting frustrated? Because you know you can do it. You know you can do it,
Mm.
but it's just not the result you want. So I was like, you keep on doing it the right way. More times than not, you're going to succeed, which is a bad lesson because that's not true in baseball. Almost anywhere else, it's true, but baseball is not. You
You
hit
know, it's funny.
300, you're a good hitter.
There was a comedian. He was like a dry humor type of guy, and he was like, they say practice makes perfect, but then they say nobody's perfect, so I stopped practicing.
That's
That's
fact.
true.
Practice
That's
equals
true.
practice equals persistence in my mind. But
Okay.
I definitely want the kids to be in sports because one thing that we didn't touch on, two things, but the first one is it teaches you how to work. I don't think people realize you got to learn how to work. And
Yeah.
for people that didn't play sports, and Chris, you were kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, they get into the workforce and it could be like a first job or whatever. You start working with them and you're like, yo, you got no clue. You always show up
Yeah.
late. You always talk about how you want to go home. Like if you was playing sports, coach would have sent you home. Like, all right, go ahead, go home.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, go home.
And they got no initiative.
Yeah.
Zero. Talk
None.
on that. Talk on that for a second.
No,
Because that's
no,
some
no,
facts.
no sense of urgency. Um, and one of the things that I think about, because it's the practicality. It's like if you haven't gained these skill sets early on, and now you're 18, 19, 20 plus years old, and you're trying to learn it, I think it is a little bit more difficult. It not that it can't be done, but I think that the learning curve is a little bit more strenuous. Um, as for like just the practicality of keeping a schedule. You know,
Yeah.
when you're in sports, you have a schedule. You know, you have practice at this time, and then you have a game on this day, and so on and
Hmm.
so forth. And it's like y- your world is now revolving around this schedule. They provided the schedule for you, and now you know, I can't do certain things at this time because I got to go over here. And even as a kid, I think like although we weren't driving it's like we know that we had to get a ride there. So it's like you got to communicate to your mom or to whoever it is that's gonna drive you there, like, hey, I got to be there at this time, and you know you can't be late. And then if you are late, the penalty of being late might be running extra laps, might be whatever, however way that the coach penalizes you. So that translates into your work life as well, because if you're late at work, you're gonna get penalized. So if you've never been held to the standard of being punctual, then it's gonna be a shock value. You know, you're gonna
Yep.
get in there, and then they're gonna chastise you. They're gonna sit there and try to punish you and teach you that what you're doing is not being held to the standard of the company you're working at, and
Mhm.
you're not gonna be receptive, and you're gonna lose the job opportunity.
Absolutely.
Damn, man. I feel like the sports sign up's gonna inflate after they watch this episode, man.
Oh,
Everybody
do
gonna
It
get
it.
their
should.
kids
It should.
enrolled.
I did want to close out the show with this one, with this point, and get your guys' reaction to it, because this is one thing that didn't come up, which is one reason I think sports is so important. We hear it said all the time, right? Like sports reflects life. But one thing that sports does very uniquely, more than maybe anything I can think of, is it has an ability to unify people from all kinds of different backgrounds, beliefs, uh, genders, whatever different way we identify ourselves. It brings people together. I mean, you brought it up earlier, Chris. Think about the Olympics. It don't matter what they look like. They got USA across their chest. We're rooting for them, right? You can go to a bar. I remember, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but when the U.S. men's national team, the soccer team, was made it pretty deep in the World Cup, because we're pretty bad at soccer from the men's side. There was the chant going around, "We believe that we will win," and like bars everywhere during all their games was crazy. And there's people of all different colors, all different backgrounds, but they're all chanting the same thing because they had a unified thing. And sports does that. Think about fan bases across the U.S. They're all different, but yet they bring people together that have no business being together. Quan, you kind of talk about it with your cigar lounges, but sports do that on such a massive level. Um, it also teaches you how to get along. It teaches you how to get along with people that aren't like you, which we need more of. So, curious your guys' thoughts on that.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that actually didn't cross my mind when thinking about this subject, but I'm glad you brought it up because you're right. Um, n- whether people are actively participating in the sport, it's like we don't need to speak the same language
Mm-hmm.
because you know the rules to the game, I know the rules to the game,
Mm.
and let's get it.
That's it.
So,
Yeah.
and then on a fan base level, it's like even man, if we're rooting for the same team, whether you're another man or female or you speak a different language, it's like all you know is we want them to win.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think it does bring people together on all levels, on the field, on the court, off the field, so on and so
Yeah, as when Matt was going into it, I already knew what he was about to say, so I was about to be like UNITY, but nah. So,
forth.
so you got to think, right. Yo, sports played a major role with a lot of the racism and shit in our country, man.
Absolutely.
Back in the day, right? It
Absolutely.
helped bridge a lot of gaps. So I think that's a beautiful call. I think that's probably the best thing sports can bring for us, because we always talk about, right, just be kind to one another, be better, be a better person, and try and love a little bit more. And when sports can help you do that with someone that you necessarily wouldn't see eye to eye with, um it's a beautiful thing. That's why Remember the Titans is one of my favorite movies. How Denzel came in there and was like, nah, we all on the bus together. What you talk about?
Yep.
um but yeah, it's a great call out, Matt, and I'm glad you did bring that up before we let this one go.
That's it, man. You hear it
I
all
just
the
want to say
time.
before we get out of here, I just want to say, man, I love what you guys are doing. And infamously speaking podcast. Thank you so much for the opportunity for allowing me to be a guest on your show. You guys have some great conversations. You guys are definitely entertaining. And there's some gems on your show as well. So I hope
Appreciate
that
that.
you guys know that you guys are pillars in our community, because there aren't many people that are being this consistent. You guys are doing episode after episode, and I know, like you guys know, how much work it takes, behind the scenes. You guys are men, hardworking men, fathers, and it takes a lot of sacrifice and discipline, and all the things that we listed throughout this episode today that you guys are doing in this podcast game, and you guys are killing it. And I hope to see more episodes, and I hope to be on this episode in the future, more episodes in the future, and maybe one day we can have you guys on growth and development as well.
That's a fact.
100%, man.
You
I
already know.
appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that, man. We're all. I feel like we're all in it for the right reasons, right? Like like I said, we're just trying to be better people and trying to spread that love. And so I appreciate you. And like I said, Chris, this is the first of many, man. There's so many
Yep.
more conversations I want to have with you, and there's so much that I feel that you could bring to other people, to our viewers, our listeners. So you gotta
Absolutely.
you gotta open carpet whenever you want to come through and pull up, man.
Appreciate
Just say
that.
the word.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you made it this far, remember, like, comment, subscribe to Infamously Speaking wherever you listen. Share with friends and family. Make sure to check out the Growth and Development podcast, Chris dropping gems regularly. Links in the description. As always, think critically, speak infamously. Love.
Love.